Hey, folks, welcome to the Weekly Grab. My name is CJ Westfall, and my host, Joel Bryant, is joining us today. Also, we have another special guest coming on for the second time. We're happy he's here, and now he's joining us as a chairman, the chairman of the Republican Party, Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright. Even the dog's excited.
I'm happy to join you all. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, man.
Steve, thanks for coming back on. Last time we had you on, you were facing a tough race, won by just a handful of votes, and you made a lot of promises in that episode, and we promised that we were going to hold you accountable to it. Can you talk about some of those promises that you're making good on?
So first and foremost, once again, thank you for having me. I was completely humbled by the outpouring of support I got in the race for chairman. We had not had a competitive chairman's race in Dorchester County for at least 5 years. My opponent, the predecessor, had been chairman for 7 years, and I think he had opposition once, and I think it was the first time he ran. So to put that in perspective, we were the only county in the Tri-County area that had opposition.
Wow.
Charleston County chairman went unopposed. Berkeley County chairwoman went unopposed. And the reason I ran is I felt like our party required a new, bold vision of conservative leadership. And some of the things that I ran on, I've been able to accomplish within my first 90 days in office. First and foremost, I ran on building back positive relationships with our elected officials. We have now held 2 panels with elected officials. One was with county council. This past month in June was with our state house members. We had every member of the state house that represents Dorchester County there. And next month, we're going to have our state senators. So that was one commitment that I made, was opening up Dorchester County Republican Party to our elected officials, to where it's a venue where they can come and feel welcome and appreciated for their service, but also be asked the tough questions. The second thing I ran on was really growing the party. And we've been doing a lot of different things with that. One thing that we've done is to put in perspective, the last meeting before reorganization, there were 21 precincts represented. The last 2 meetings as chairman, we've had over 40 precincts represented.
Wow.
So those are ways in which we've grown the party. I can't take credit for that. I think having a competitive race certainly increased enthusiasm, increased awareness. But what I can take credit for is some of the things that we're doing right now. So this past week, I was invited to come out and speak to the Ponds neighborhood. And so I went out there, I spoke to them. It's a group of folks that are retired. They have a lot of time on their hands. They are upset about the direction of the country, and they wanted to know how to get involved. We had over 50 people come out. And I plan to stop all the way across this county, speaking to really groups, neighborhoods, to make them aware of what we're doing. And lastly, what I ran on was fundraising. And with that, I was very excited to announce today we have confirmed Governor Henry McMaster to come to be our headline speaker for our Faith, Family, and Freedom dinner, and Attorney General Alan Wilson. But I'll make a promise to all of the people that are reviewing this right now. These are not the last speakers. I think we're going to have some other speakers that are really going to bring enthusiasm to this event. So we welcome everybody to come to this event, learn about what we're doing, get involved, and most importantly, support our party so that we can execute so many of the items that I ran on, whether it's building a grassroots army in Dorchester County, putting together a Get Out the Vote campaign for our candidates, opening an office. All of those items are only achievable with the financial resources to do so. So we've been busy. We've gotten a lot accomplished, but there's still so much more work to be done.
Man, so if you can see the screen now, you can see Stephen's huge announcement from today, the Faith, Family, and Freedom Dinner, Saturday, August 28th. And what a huge announcement, Stephen. Has Alan Wilson, the Attorney General, do they normally come to Somerville? This is a pretty big deal.
So from my perspective, the Republican Party, the organization itself, has not hosted our governor or our attorney general in many, many years. I know for a fact they haven't hosted our governor since he was first elected or first appointed back in 2016. And it's not an easy task to get the governor to an event. He has a very busy schedule. His time is very precious. And so one thing that I also ran on was my relationships and the relationships that I built with people across the state. And those relationships have delivered thus far. It's how we had our candidate panels or our elected official panels. And it's also how we were able to get confirmations from the governor and the attorney general to headline this event. And like I said, you're going to see some other big names there. I just can't release them yet.
Awesome. Well,
really awesome.
We still got the graphic up. You mentioned the elected officials panel. We had a second to chat about that. It is relationships. It does come down to relationships. We had Wesley talking about that on Wednesday. Getting the governor to come to the Dorchester Republican Party, that is no easy task. And, it's no secret that the last Dorchester Republican Party chairman not only did not have that poll, but wasn't as focused as building the grassroots army and building the fundraising mechanisms that you're putting in place now, Steve. Can you tell me why it's so important to not only have the fundraising mechanisms, but to also have the grassroots army, built in Dorchester County, so we're not vulnerable to what we've seen happen in Charleston County? Can you tell me about that importance?
Well, that's the biggest example of why we can't be complacent in Dorchester. Charleston County was not always a blue or purple county. In fact, it was red until about the last decade when it turned blue. And in my estimation, it turned blue because of the county party not being as organized as it should have been. And so that's what I don't want to happen here in Dorchester County. I am not sure if you know this, but in 2018, Joe Cunningham and the Democrat nominee for governor, I think his name was James Smith,
Yep.
They won one of our House districts in Dorchester County. They won the district. So if that person,
I didn't know that
right now, if he were running for re-election, he could have lost that campaign, and that happened in Dorchester County. And so, as a party, we have to define what are our objectives and why do we exist. What is our purpose? And for me, I believe the party has three key parts. Number one is to communicate what we believe and why we believe it. Number two is to educate the voters on those issues. And number three is to activate those voters. And none of that is possible without people willing to support the party in a volunteer capacity, people willing to donate to the party. And all of those things are important. And most importantly, we need to have that positive working relationship with our elected officials. We are not going to agree with them on all the issues, but if we simply badger them or we yell at them, they're not going to come back, and then that line of communication and influence is cut off.
Okay, let's keep going on that, Steve, because I was at that legislative meeting. So was Joel, and you've had a great relationship with the elected officials. What I've noticed is it's all about tone, and I certainly don't agree with our elected officials a lot. But I've noticed that if I treat them with respect, and we might disagree. For example, Gil Gatch and I disagreed on the show about constitutional carry. At least you'll know where they are, and they'll say to you, hey, only 15 or 20 people will call us on these issues. If I'm hearing from you before I push that button to vote, I'm going to be thinking in the back of my head, I wonder what CJ's thinking about this, because they do genuinely want to represent your interests. Can you kind of give advice to some of the folks in the DCRP that are, we want to unite, we want them to be united and all on the same page? What's your advice to those folks who are deeply passionate about conservative principles, but maybe going about things the wrong way, and it's time to get them on the same page? What's your advice?
Well, first and foremost, one thing that I learned through my time in politics is respect is earned, not given. So first is we have to have a respect with our elected officials. One thing that I'm going to do and that I realize needs to be done in the party is really educate our members on the legislative process. Now, I'm not talking about how a bill becomes a law. We're not going to play that song and pretend like we don't know what's going on. What I'm saying is very specifically in South Carolina, a lot of our people that are involved in the party now are new to the state, or they've never been involved in politics before, so they don't quite understand the legislative process. And what I mean by that is, for instance, crossover. Do any of us on here know what crossover is? Some folks don't. Crossover means if a bill does not leave the House or the Senate by a certain date and get to the other chamber, it's not going to be heard that session. And so, for instance, when it comes to critical race theory, If we look at the timeline of critical race theory, it began percolating last year. We heard about it a little bit. And March and April is when that thing exploded. And Fox News covers it, 10 hours out of the day. So what that means is that our legislature, unfortunately, had to react to critical race theory in a way that they were not able to come up with or craft a permanent legislative solution. So what they did is they put a proviso in the budget this year that's only good for 1 year that simply states critical race theory is prohibited from our schools. So the reason I say that is what I want to do is educate our members on that legislative process. The second thing is our legislators are truly citizen legislators. They're not full-time, they're part-time. They're given a salary of $10,000 a year. They're in the legislature from January to May, 3 days a week. They also don't have comprehensive research staff. If you go to a U.S. senator's office or congresswoman's office, they have 5 to 10 people that simply do research for them. Our legislators have to do a lot of that for themselves. And we've had some members that are frustrated that the legislature has been kind of reactionary on some of these issues or didn't seem to know about certain things that are going on in our schools. But as one of our members profoundly said, they don't have the staff, so why don't we as constituents become their staff? Why don't we, when we see an issue going on in a particular area, why don't we provide them with that information and then we can ask them to make a legislative change? And so, when it comes to our legislators, I don't agree with them on everything. No, heck, people that are married don't agree on everything. But we can't allow that to prohibit us from working together in a positive way. And we can't allow that to prohibit us from giving them the respect that they've earned as elected officials. But most importantly, we can't allow that to prohibit us from having influence with them, because if we simply scream at them and say they're not doing enough, they're simply not going to come back, and then we're completely shut out. And our party will be what it was for a long time, where elected officials boycotted it and they weren't members of it.
Right. Well said. Joel, before we wrap up with Stephen real quick, anything else you want to add or ask Steve?
I mean, you covered all my questions, honestly. He did.
Well, Steve, I mean, one more time, can you just tell us when tickets are going to be available and where it's going to be? Can you give us a little bit more details about the event before we sign off here?
Absolutely. So once again, it's our first annual Faith, Family, and Freedom Dinner. And what I'd like to do is have this as an annual event. I believe, we've really raised the bar high for what our expectations are for this event, but we have an absolutely phenomenal fundraising committee of 14 people that come from different backgrounds across the county that are bringing their contacts and their influence to the committee. So it's the Faith, Family, Freedom Dinner. It's Saturday, August 28th. It's going to be in the evening. We are working with the governor's staff and other elected officials who are attending their staffs. As you all know, the governor has a 24-hour security detail, so we have to work with them to make sure that we meet all of their requirements. So the date or the time will be determined by the 26th. And the July 26th is the date that the general admission tickets will go online. You'll be able to get those online. We're working to get that set up right now. And lastly, if you're interested in being a sponsor, we have sponsorships, and those sponsorships come with certain benefits. We start out at Platinum, which is $2,500, and it goes all the way to $250. So if you're interested in being a sponsor, feel free to contact me. We'd love to have your support. And like I said, those sponsorships come with certain benefits, whether it's access to the VIP reception, which only sponsors will have access to. You'll be able to get a picture with our headlining speakers. You will also have preferred parking, preferred seating. Your name will be mentioned in all of our promotional materials. And so we have a really great event we're putting together. And lastly, and I think CJ and Joel will probably be happiest about this, it's open bar. So drink all you want. We'll call all the Ubers. We have phenomenal food. We are finalizing the menu now, but it is going to be a absolutely delicious meal. And we welcome anybody that's interested in joining, most especially folks that maybe haven't been involved in the party before. This is really our event to showcase the Republican Party and what we're doing.
Stephen Wright putting in the work, getting elected, and going right to work and making true on these promises. I watched through our interview the week before you were elected, and you're up against some tough competition, and here you are making good on all your promises. Thanks so much, Stephen, for joining us. We appreciate it and hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Have a great night,
Thanks for
Steve.
coming.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, guys. We have a really interesting show. We're going to jump right into it because there's some very interesting news that happened this week. Check out this news story from just yesterday. This is very, very interesting. Let's see if I can get it to roll here. Give me just a second. So while I'm waiting for it to roll.
Come on,
yeah, well,
roll it, bro.
I'm sitting here clicking it. It's not going. Oh, that's not what we clicked.
Richard Quinn. Ooh, that I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so hang tight, guys. But basically, what's going on here in Somerville is, as much as they can possibly get done before this next council meeting, when the new town administrator takes over, is being done right now. So what I'm about to show you is a news clip from Thursday night, and this was on the 11 o'clock news. And let me give my computer a second to kind of catch up here because streaming live here makes it go really, really slow. So anyways, so what's going on here is the town administrator, give me just a second here, was fired without cause. There we go. And so not only that, but this Wednesday, there was a special called council meeting. During this special called council meeting, you saw
Somerville Town Council met today to update their development plans for Flower Town.
But the type of meeting has people questioning how the council conducts its business.
Our Eli Brand was there, spoke with one Somerville resident who says he wants more transparency. Eli?
Yeah, Dean and Tessa, that resident who says he may run for town council himself is asking why the current council is holding so many specially called meetings as opposed to doing business in the regularly scheduled ones. I looked into it and discovered that the last 3 town council meetings in a row, including the ones involving the firing of Rebecca Vance and hiring of her replacement, were specially called, and that 10 of the 17 meetings this year were also specially called.
I seen a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense.
Somerville Town Council today passed the first reading of 14 amendments to the town's Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO. Most of those amendments remove requirements previously needed for developers and businesses to work in Somerville.
All about property rights. And I'm a big property rights person. The UDO as it was written just takes away property rights, in my opinion.
But the biggest topic of discussion for resident Don Johnson was about why this, too, was done in a special council meeting instead of a normally scheduled one.
They're pushing an agenda through that, frankly, it doesn't make any sense. They're not reading it in public. We don't know what the changes are, and we should know exactly what they're changing in the UDO.
The items on the agenda striked out in red were the items that received the first reading to be removed from the UDO. They were not publicly read word for word at today's meeting before a vote, but are listed under the meeting's agenda on the town's website. When a town council member complained about the town doing so much business in special meetings as of late, the mayor responded by saying it's in order to get things done.
You got to have change, and it wasn't just a 3-day change. We've had this change since last week, and it was easy reading because it wasn't that much. So hopefully the majority knows what they're doing and we're doing the right thing.
For Johnson, what he calls a lack of transparency is pulling the town down.
I think the future of Somerville is up for grabs. It has hope. We always have hope. But under the current administration, the way it's running, it's on shaky ground.
Working for you in Somerville, I'm Eli Brand, ABC News 4.
And those amendments will require a public hearing and second reading before they are passed.
Awesome.
And there he is, Don Johnson, the legend.
Did it go right back to that Richard Quinn graphic?
Yeah, it's still on the graphic, man. You need a new computer, my guy. But
No, so anyways, to kind of let you guys know what's going on, so the town just rewrote all of their development ordinances in a special called meeting with 24-hour notice. And what Don's biggest question was why wasn't this done at next Thursday's council meeting? Literally a week from the day they did that, they have an actual regularly called meeting. You have to ask that question because This took place at 3 p.m. in the middle of the day when a lot of working regular people are frankly at work. So it's worth asking these questions. I thought it was interesting that Ricky Waring is now all of a sudden concerned about property rights when last year he infringed on just about everybody's property rights in Somerville, forcing them to wear masks whether they wanted to or not.
Ricky Biden.
Yeah. Oh, you said it, not me.
Looking a little bit like Joe up there.
Well, I'm not going to make fun of his health, but what I can say is it really did not make sense what he had to say. It
Make
really
me look like the douche. Okay.
I mean, you said it, not me, but there are a lot of people asking, questions. I frankly didn't understand, what his point was. I didn't understand, property rights. He didn't explain it. So I'm for property rights too, but it sounded like somebody just kind of told him to say that, and he didn't really understand the substance of what he was doing. And so I'm in favor of repealing a lot of regulations, and that's really what we saw. A lot of regulations are being repealed. However, the fact that it was done a week from a regular council meeting, they did it in a special meeting when nobody else was there except for me, then why wouldn't you do it at, next Thursday's meeting? So what I'm about to play is Bob Jackson's speech, who voted nay to all of these restrictions being repealed, and the rest of the council all voted together. It's very interesting. Listen closely to what Bob Jackson has to say in this speech, because he gives some really good insight as to the notice that was given, and the town staff that actually has to implement these new regulations were absolutely ignored on all of their questions about what they were going to do. And I think that's worth noting. One more thing before I play this video of Bob Jackson. If you remember, I played a clip last week of Bob Jackson, and we screenshotted or screen recorded a short speech that he made regarding Rebecca Vance being fired without cause. Since then, it looks like we've angered those folks in town hall because they've changed how they actually stream live their council meetings. So now I'm going to show you this. You're not going to be able to see Bob. You're going to be able to hear him, but you're going to see a giant presentation with some, nonsensical ordinances that don't matter, and you're not going to be able to see Bob's face. So what my guess is they changed the video because of us, and they didn't want Bob Jackson getting the shine and praise that he deserves for making principled stands. So check this out and let me know what you think.
I'm not going to pretend that I know enough to wipe out what a large number of people that make their living and have studied their lives to create these ordinances to guide the town. And I do realize that this council wants to do what it wants to do regardless of advice. And I assumed you had the votes because I was never contacted about any of this. I had kind of hoped that this would be a workshop so we could go over some of it like we always do. But even staff was ignored. So I'm going to continue voting no. And I think us disassembling what seems to be what has been done over the last 8-10 years is going in the wrong direction and is not going to help people to feel secure and safe coming into the town when we keep changing everything every couple of days. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I might make
Well said.
My only question was, why the rush? Why did you have to rush and do this in a special called council meeting when there is a council meeting next Thursday? I'll let you guys judge for yourselves. You have any guesses there, Joel?
I don't know, man. It's weird.
Well, we're going to keep it on the sub. It is a little sus. So we're going to keep it on the subject of Somerville Town Council. There are some expert level trolling going on. We have been following closely. We've been following very closely. We've been following very closely.
Zoomed in Kodak closely.
Other Facebook groups in Somerville are censoring this news topic. They're not letting anything of this topic enter their groups. Somerville Journal Scene has not covered this topic at all. And we're hearing anonymously through town staff and people that work for the town. Thank you, Somerville Sentinel. You're the only ones that's
Somerville
been honestly
the only one, isn't it? Isn't that kind of funny? Huh?
It is. It is. So look what's been popping up around town, Joe. I don't know if you've seen these.
I've seen a few.
So what you're looking at is the town administrator. This is a big deal, guys. If you live in Somerville, the town administrator. I'm going to try to sync back in here so you can see me. The town administrator was fired without cause 2 weeks ago, and her name was Rebecca Vance. Now these signs are popping up all over town, and I promise it wasn't me. Whoever's doing this. I had so many texts. I had elected officials text me today saying, CJ, was this you? No, this is an expert level troll saying we love Rebecca. And frankly, she was extremely qualified and she was fired without cause. We actually saw this week that her lawyer put something out saying her firing may have been a little fishy. And so there may be more details on that coming out. I suspect there will be.
We got a few comments down there. Justin says, who the blank is pulling the strings in town?
Who the blank?
Yeah, I can't curse. We're trying to be family friendly. Someone else says, tell CJ's stash. I said hello. I guess they mean the mustache.
Hey. Hey, stick with me. So, guys, this is hilarious. We're going to keep it on Somerville. So
yeah, let's keep going.
So this Sunday is the Fireworks and Freedom
Festival.
Keep in mind the word freedom, right? So it's the Fireworks and Freedom Festival. But whenever anybody's using freedom, they always mean diet freedom. And here's what I mean by that. So if you look at the restrictions in place for this, it is the Fireworks and Freedom Festival, but you do not have the freedom to bring large coolers to the park that you pay for. You're not allowed to bring your pets, your tents. You're not allowed to bring any alcohol. You're not going to be allowed to come and park. If you'd like to come, you have to take a shuttle. And if you take the shuttle, yes, you will be forced to wear a mask. So they're calling it the Fireworks and Freedom Festival, but you're not free to bring your pets, your alcohols, your coolers. And keep in mind, this is at a park, Gehagen Park, that you pay for and you pay to maintain. So there is huge irony in this, that they're calling it a freedom festival, but they're not even letting you park at the park that you pay for. They're
did
making
Aaron Brown write these rules?
Oh, maybe he did. Maybe he did.
It might have been Mr. Brown.
So Joe, who pays for the parks that they're telling us what we can do? I mean, that's us, right?
Us. No.
So
CJ's mustache.
CJ's mustache, right? So, when you're on a shuttle, a stinky bus, and you have to take your shuttle and be forced to wear a mask and be forced to not bring your own coolers. Who wants to enjoy July 4th without alcohol? And the fact that you're not allowed to bring pets, I just think I'm not just complaining. I just think it's utter irony that they're calling it a freedom festival, but they're taking away like 5 or 10 freedoms that everybody normally enjoys on July 4th. So I thought that was extremely ironic.
Can Hunter bring his stash?
Hunter bring his stash?
Hunter Biden will bring his powder, and he'll be the only one allowed.
Oh my God. All right, so we're going to get to the graphic that I had before. So Rick Quinn, Richard Quinn is what they have here, but he's known as Rick Quinn. Once a powerful SC GOP consultant, faces new charges in corruption probe. This is huge. Richard Quinn has worked with, as a consultant, some big names like Attorney General Alan Wilson, helped him get elected. Someone named Lindsey Graham, somebody named Henry McMaster. So Rick Quinn has been not only a campaign consultant helping people get elected, but he's also worked to help, once those people are elected, help use that power and leverage that he has with elected officials to lobby for big business. So he's lobbied for electric companies and co-ops, colleges, telecom companies, health insurance giants, and a lot of these big businesses. He's actually accused of lying about his business arrangement with our current Attorney General, Alan Wilson. So that's a little shady. This is a part of the ongoing 3-year-long corruption probe at the South Carolina State House. And finally, they're going after this guy. He was indicted today, Rick Quinn. This is good news if you believe in transparency in South Carolina. And all elected officials, whether they worked with Rick Quinn or not, should be disavowing this shady business practices that he's been doing. He would help these guys get elected, and then once he had the power of and the leverage of getting them elected, he'd be like, okay, you owe me now, and then he'd work for all these big corporations to get favors for them and get cash in once they're elected. And so this is now being exposed. This isn't a conspiracy. This is all out there. This guy's worked with Alan Wilson, Lindsey Graham, Henry McMaster, numerous state senators, state house reps across the state. And so this is just the kind of stuff that we've been talking about for years that I feel like I'm being vindicated on. I've been saying this kind of stuff for years, and here we are with the proof.
The proof in the pudding.
Proof's in the pudding. We're just almost at 30 minutes, so I'm going to hit a couple more of them, Joel. What are your thoughts on Sha'Carri? She was hit with the drug charge. What is your thoughts on this story?
I've seen a little bit about it. I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb. I mean, if the NFL and the MLB are already starting to loosen their marijuana policies, I don't see what the big deal was for her to have smoked it. I mean, it's not a performance enhancing drug at all.
Yeah, if anything, it'd slow her down, right?
Yeah, if anything, it'll hurt your performance.
Yeah, so if you follow sports or any of the Olympic Games that's been going on, Sha'Carri Richardson is 21 years old, and it's not often that a 21-year-old makes the Olympic trials finals, much less makes the top 3 to be able to represent the United States. And so, so she beat a lot of people who had previously represented the United States. She's got national titles from LSU. She is one of the fastest 100-meter runners in the world, just in our country. And she's hilarious. And so basically her mom died 2 weeks before the Olympic trials. She was thinking about pulling out of it altogether. She came forward and said, I was using marijuana to help medicate. And now she's facing a potential 30-day ban from the sport that would keep her from competing in the Olympics. And by the way, she was the fastest at the Olympic trials. There's hundreds of people who qualify for the Olympic trials, and that in and of itself is an achievement. But winning the Olympic trials is another achievement, and having one of the top 5 fastest times in the world, it's huge. So there's a couple different takes, and I think everybody's kind of right on this. There's one side that's like, okay, you're dumb for smoking when you know that the Olympics only comes up every 4 years and you're going to be drug tested. I do get that take, but then there's what Joel just said, where it's legal in 34 states. More than half the country has said they want this to be legal.
That many. Damn, I thought it was smaller than that. But
34 states, bro. So it's legal in 34 states, and so this 21-year-old athlete, she's one of the fastest people in the world. This is just yet another victim of the BS war on drugs that has done nothing. We've lost the war on drugs. If you look up the origins of the war on drugs, it was Richard Nixon, and his staffer came out and said, we targeted the anti-war hippies and the blacks with the drug war, because we knew that if we threw a lot of them in jail, we could start winning elections. You can go look the quote. Don't take my word up. Don't take my word for it. But this is just yet another example of something that's used as a medicine in 34 states now being used to deny a young woman, 21 years old. You guys made mistakes when you were 21, and if she got drunk, if she was getting drunk every night, she would have been no problem, But she was medicating, and that's what she said, because her mom just died. Literally 2 weeks ago, her mom died, and so that's a huge story. Everybody's got an opinion on it. If you guys have an opinion on it, let us know in the comments. I definitely agree. It's not the smartest thing to smoke weed before you're going to be drug tested, but at the same time, it is kind of a BS rule. So I don't know what is dumber, the dumb rule or her knowing that the dumb rule is there and doing it anyway. So that's my take on it. Obviously, it wasn't the smartest thing. I got one more story, and then we can wrap it up.
Let's hit it.
So, every 4 years, we're told that flooding is just going to be taken care of. And if we just vote for this person, then they're just going to wipe out all the flooding issues. But this story, really quick, let me briefly read this story to you real quick. Some Somerville homeowners, this is from yesterday, Some Somerville homeowners are frustrated over issues with drainage maintenance. They say it is contributing to their flooding problems. Lisa Wetzel has lived in Westside Heights neighborhood for more than 20 years. She says the ditches around her state-maintained road are not being kept up with properly. Quote, the rain keeps coming and we'll ask the maintenance people to clean the ditches, but they leave the debris on the side of the road and the majority of it comes right back in the ditches and clogs it up. This is something that Justin Robertson was saying when he was running for office. It's a common sense thing. Clear the ditches and culverts. They don't do it properly. Wetzel goes on to say, I have been to town council and county council meetings, and they say they're going to do something, but what has been done? She says when it rains, the water accumulates on the road and in her yard. There is a fence on the other side of her lot, which blocks any water from leaving her property. So she says at that point, her yard becomes a lake. Wetzel goes on to say she's been trying to find a permanent solution for the problem for a long time, and she's hoping someone can help. Maybe there's someone running for office now that can help. A spokesperson from the town goes on to give empty platitudes. They said, we understand that there are concerns with flooding in our area. Mary Edwards says, fortunately, town council and staff work really well together to make sure they're going over plans and ideas to fix some of the issues in town that we have. So more empty platitudes and empty promises and more flooding, more property damage, more incompetence. To Miss Lisa Wetzel, if you end up seeing a clip of this, we'd love to have you on the show. But yeah, Joel, why do they not fix these problems with flooding? I don't understand.
I don't know. That makes sense. I don't know.
Man,
it's not a hard fix, and it's not like there's not an incentive to do it, because there is an incentive to do it.
We got a hurricane coming. And my guess is whether this is a bad hurricane or if it's just a tropical depression, every time it sprinkles in Somerville, you get some serious rainfall and flooding, even if it's not that big of a rainstorm. So my prediction is we're going to come back on this show next week after we all enjoy our July 4th weekend, and we're going to see some flooding. I'm going to say I told you so, and I'm going to start asking you guys, call your town councilman, call the mayor, and say, what are you doing right now to make this flooding issue go away? You campaigned on this. You're 2 years into office. What are you doing? I don't think they're doing much, but I could be wrong. I'm open to being corrected. But yeah, we hit some awesome topics.
We did.
Anything you want to add? Oh, we do have something to add, Joel.
We do have one more thing to add, man. We got two things to add.
You want to tell people what came out last night?
There was it was a big drop last night. I dropped my new single, The Zone Remix. It's on all streaming services right now. So yeah, that's the big story.
In my zone, about to go rogue. Stunning when I roll up to the show. They already know I'm in my zone. Whoa.
Nice. That was a dope preview.
Yeah, right?
I like that.
Yeah, man.
I like that.
Little party jam.
Yeah, so
you should wait till the verses drop.
What I like about it, so you heard the hook, right? But what I like about this song is you get a good feel for the song, you got a good feature, and then at about a minute and a half, you get the beat switch, and then Joel just goes in with the bars, and it's a good song.
This is also the song that lost me my engineer, but okay.
Yeah, so we never talked about that. So there's a song where Joel says,
"I can see." There's a bar where it says, "Lies on the news, catch a clue. I can see the enemy, and he's not in blue."
And he's not in blue.
And it raised a lot of controversy in the studio.
Yeah, so
I'm not allowed.
Go ahead. You're not allowed back. So all he said was, "I can see the enemy, and he's not in blue." He's saying that police are not the problem. Right, and I think whether you agree or not,
more complex than to just blame everything on them. So
right, and so Joel was called racist by his music engineer, and tried price gouging him, saying, I'm not going to send you these files all over. I can see the enemy, and he's not in blue. And so then this guy starts trolling us. Oh, Joel, I didn't know you run a right-wing podcast. I run a socialist podcast. And so this socialist nut starts trying to like bully Joel over the most smallest line about, police are not the enemy. I thought that was nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was like, damn. Nuts. So we're hiring.
Yeah, that was absolutely nuts. Well, guys, thank you for joining the weekly grab. We're going to be back on Mondays and Fridays live at 7 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to share the stream. Make sure to comment and tell us what you thought. Make sure to like it so it shows up in other people's feeds. Everybody that's watching right now, drop us a like right now so we can show up in other people's feeds.
If you want to see somebody on the show or come on the show yourself, hit up CJ. He handles the guests.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Dorchester Republican chairman. We'll have anybody on the show if you got something awesome to talk about. But drop us a like, share us, and helps us show up in other people's feeds. But we appreciate everybody, even the lurkers. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful July 4th weekend. We're going to be logging off here. Yes, are you going to go to the Faith and Freedom Fest on July 4th, Joel?
Nah.